Ladies and gentlemen, you are listening to the Ironbark Podcast, and I am your host, Epion. Thanks for tuning in today, and today we are going to talk about toxoplasmosis in wolves, and a giant new snake species has been discovered in the Amazon. And I'll give you a hint, it's an anaconda. Actually, I just spoiled it for you, it's an anaconda. So, I want to talk about toxoplasmosis, and if you listen to this podcast, you've heard me talk about before. I find it fascinating. So it's a parasite. The parasite specifically is called toxoplasma. Toxoplasma? Yeah, toxoplasma. I think Gandhi is like it's like suffix that comes after it. Anyway, once infected with it, an animal, including us, will get what we call toxoplasmosis. And toxoplasmosis, it hasn't been studied much, but the studies that have been done show curious results. Like they think like top athletes have it, like a large amount of like professional soccer players have it. They think a lot of people who like ride motorcycles, people who are inclined to more high risk behavior tend to get it or tend to have it. And where it stems from is it stems from cats, like predominantly like cat urine, cat feces. It's like it's in that the cats like secrete it. It's supposed to be like this weird thing that to like incentivize mice to come around cats or rats. That's an old podcast ago. If you want to get into it, you can go listen to that one. But I just want to specifically talk about wolves. So there was a study done, 26 years of behavioral data in wolves. Okay, so this is a decent sample, a very good sample, and 229 wolves were studied. And what they found is 40 that these wolves were 46 times more likely to become the pack leader if they were infected with this. And they were 11 times more likely to leave the pack. So what does that tell you? A wolf comes across, cougar, scat, maybe lynx, bobcat. And sometimes these wolves will like scavenge and they'll eat feces. It's especially if it has like some kind of high leftover nutrient content or protein. They'll eat it. Subsequently, they'll also come in contact with toxoplasma, get toxoplasmosis, and develop this like way more, I guess, risk taking behavior. So one of these big risks that this research assumes is that they'll leave the pack. They'll leave the pack. They'll go and look for themselves. They'll become their own pack leader. They think it also may increase testosterone, which may be linked to like higher aggression, more dominance, and because they're a pack leader, that means they also reproduce the most. Now, the wolves that they become in charge of as the pack leader may not be infected, or usually aren't. So it takes a pack leader needs to be kind of more daring. It needs to show the wolves like where to go, what to go through, and it sort of has like this impact on the behavior of the pack as a whole, which I think may actually lead them to encounter cougars more often than perhaps infect other members of the pack. And then those pack members will leave. They'll go off to start their own wolf pack, and it kind of creates like this like intertwined ecosystem living off this parasite or depending on this parasite. So you have cats, you have wolves, you have toxoplasma. They all work together to kind of like benefit each other. And well, I don't know what the cougar really benefits from it or Toxo. I guess Toxo gets another host. But the wolf pack gets to perpetuate, make new wolf packs, and become like a bigger, badder wolf in a sense. So I thought that was pretty cool. Um, if you look up the study, you can actually see like a little chart about it. I'll reference it right now, I think. Hold on a sec here. Yeah, okay. So gray wolves and cougar in Yellowstone National Park both prey on elk and deer. Wolves and cougars they spatially overlap, so they kind of like share territory in a way. Infected cougar infects wolves, likely through consuming cougar scat or environmental or dead cougar. So like environmental stuff, like maybe like a sprayed tree or whatever, or like maybe they peed on a log and the dog or the wolf picked up the log. So they come in contact with it, they then get infected. So infected wolves take higher risks. So some will go off and die. Some will disperse from the pack, which may also die or become pack leaders. Or the infected wolf of a pack will overtake the current alpha and become the leader. So they usually become pack leaders. It goes on to the next part of the chart where it says infected leaders lead uninfected pack mates into risky situations, possibly even towards cougars. So this is why, like, this is kind of cool because that means there's kind of like another additional element at play for being alpha besides just strength and aggression and testosterone. It's also like there's like there's an organism at play. So these wolves, there's a couple options for them. Some die, and then that pack, uninfected wolves, learn to take risks, like approaching cougars. Uninfected wolves get infected, and there's sort of like this weird like spider web of like events. It's like there's always scenarios, and a lot of scenarios it's like some die, but as wolves increase risk that they take, it leads to increased overlap of like the space that they share with the cougars. So then it's kind of like it perpetuates and gets like bigger and bigger and bigger. That to me, super interesting. A nice little thing of the animal kingdom. I suggest checking out the study and looking at it and looking at the map of it. This little like diagram chart flow. It's like a flow chart basically, but there's a bunch of different options that kind of branches over. All right, so moving on to the giant new snake species that was identified in the Amazon. So a team of scientists went down to the Amazon. A professor by the name of Professor Brian Fry from the University of Queensland led a team to capture and study several species of the newly named northern green anaconda, which, okay, there's a southern green anaconda as well. So I'm just going to jump into this article from Science Daily and let's see what they have to say about it. Our team received the rare invitation from the people of the area to explore a region and collect samples from a population of anacondas rumored to be the largest in existence. The indigenous hunters took us into the jungle for a 10-day expedition to search for these snakes, which they considered sacred. So I've listened to like a lot of documentaries and podcasts and stuff on like wildlife and people that have gone to the Amazon. And this has actually been a big rumor for a long time that there's these massive snakes, like massive, but they've never really been studied, and for different reasons. One, it takes 10 days of an expedition through thick forest, tons of dangers, very difficult stuff. And the local people, sometimes the relationships in there are complex between visitors and them. So we paddled canoes down the river system and were lucky enough to find several anacondas lurking in the shallows, lying in wait for prey. The size of these magnificent creatures was incredible. One female anaconda we encountered measured as an astounding 6.3 meters long. There are anecdotal reports from the people of other anacondas in the area measuring more than 7.5 meters long and weighing around 500 kilograms. So the one they caught or measured was 6.3 and it was a female. So you could reckon that the males would be larger. So 7.5 doesn't seem too far of a stretch of it from, what am I even saying? It doesn't seem like too far of a stretch of the imagination. Professor Fry said the northern green anaconda species diverged from the southern green anaconda almost 10 million years ago, and they differ genetically by 5.5%. That's a significant amount. Like, okay, hold on. It goes on to elaborate for me. It's quite significant. To put into perspective, humans differ from chimpanzees by only about 2%, he said. So this is like a significant snake. Yeah, it's going to end up on some Disney Plus series or Netflix or something like that. So that's super cool. And like the DNA speaks for itself. That's a significant kind of snake, even though, it looks like an anaconda, whatever. It's divergent enough where would that mean I don't think they could interbreed. Could they interbreed? What's the difference in DNA between a wolf and a dog? Because they can breed, though it's difficult. I don't know. I'm not going to get too much into the weeds on this one. But that's something you guys can look up. Maybe you can leave it in the comment section on wherever you listen to this, if they have a comment section for it. Anyway, guys, that's about all I have to cover for wildlife news. I am going to talk a little bit about myself and the podcast, some of the content creation that I'm doing. So if you've been following me, I'm on X most predominantly now. That's my platform. I love it. I use it. I think it loves me back. I get some good followers. They're great people, lots of cool people on there I like to socialize with, all different types of walks of life. It's a pretty cool online community. So I started doing like reaction videos. So if you follow me on there, I'm only going to do like they're not really reaction videos. They're like review and reaction, sort of like additional commentary on podcasts that I listen to, that when they bring up stuff that's relevant to me or that's particularly interesting to me. So normally it'll have to do with like wildlife or cryptids. So I recently reacted or reviewed a segment from the Joe Rogan podcast, and I don't know. I put it up there. I'm going to keep that as X exclusive content. I don't think I'm going to put it anywhere else. I'm going to put it up there for trial. Where is my tongue? Putting it up there for a trial run. Episode 1, not too many people liked it. Barely anybody, in fact. And it is a bit of an extension from my typical wildlife videos that I like to post up online. But you know what? I felt I need to start making more content, and I really want to start putting those type of videos together so I can disperse them throughout the week. So people always have something that they can consume from me instead of having to wait a week for a podcast. I would like to do more podcasts, but I think that would require getting more guests. I'm trying to round some up for you guys. We'll see what I can do. Obviously, it gets a little bit harder when you have to rely on other people's schedules, this and that, and the other. But if I record a podcast, just solo episodes like this one, more than once a week, I would be running out of things to talk about, at least interesting things or significant things. I could come up with like a billion different things to talk about, and I could just keep going and talking about all this stuff, and it wouldn't be that interesting. This week, I talked about the study. It's an old, that wolf study was like 2 years ago, maybe. I feel like I never really talked about it, so I wanted to talk about it. And that's one of my big interests. And then the giant snake stuff, that's relatively new. That's kind of in the news. Had to talk about it. But besides that, that's 1 day's worth of content. That's barely an episode. So yeah, the reaction review type videos, that's going to be X exclusive. You're going to catch that on there. I'm going to try to, maybe I'll do something after I'm done recording this podcast. I'm kind of lazy. I shouldn't be. Maybe I'll save that for tomorrow, but tomorrow I do want to kick out to the mountains and do something fun. I haven't thought of what though. I might just record bighorn sheep again. I don't know. They're easy to find, so I think I might just stick to that. Yeah. I've been doing a little bit more photography. I've been taking some nice pictures. I've been posting those up online. I did a nice President's Day for you Americans out there post with a little significant info dump there for you. That's on X as well. And I actually think that's exclusive to X. I think I may have posted the picture on Instagram, but it didn't really have the quite as good verbiage associated with it. A nice little paragraph, you know. But I did put up some nice pictures. Anyway, guys, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for listening. I'm going to end this with a howl because we talked about wolves, and it's the Iron Bark Podcast. The logo is a wolf. Was it cringe? Huh? Was it cringe? Yeah, it was. I'm leaving it in too. I ain't editing it out. Hope you enjoy that cringe.